You think you know Peter Pan, right? The fun-loving kid in green tights? Yeah, forget everything you saw in the Disney movie. We're about to open the original case file on a story that is way less fairy tale and way more true crime. We're talking home invasion, serial abduction, and a main suspect who is anything but a hero. Right from the jump, the author himself, J.M. Barrie, tells us something is off. The very first word he uses to describe Peter, cocky. That's not how you describe a hero. That's exhibit A that something is deeply, deeply wrong with this kid.
But here's the thing. What if cocky is just the cover story? What if it's actually masking something way more sinister? Well, we're going to break down the evidence, piece by piece, and you can be the judge.
Okay, so this whole story doesn't kick off with a friendly invitation. It starts with a straight-up home invasion. Some strange kid just drops into the nursery, and when the family dog, Nana, who is also the nanny, by the way, rightfully attacks him, he bolts so fast he literally leaves his own shadow behind. This is not a social call, this is a crime scene. And get this, here's the motive. Peter later admits he wasn't even there for Wendy or the other kids. Nope, he was just lurking outside their window, eavesdropping on Mrs. Darling's bedtime stories. He's basically a story addict, and he was there to get his fix. So the second Wendy catches him, he completely shifts tactics. And this is classic grooming 101. He flatters her, tells her how clever she is, he promises her adventure and mermaids, and then, and this is the hook, he hits her with the one thing she can't possibly resist, the chance to play mother to his gang of lost boys. It is pure, calculated manipulation. And that's it. The trap snaps shut. The book tells us point blank that he looked at her with greed. But Wendy, who is totally bought into his whole act, doesn't even notice. Just moments later, all three of the Darling children are flying out of that nursery window right as their parents are frantically running up the stairs to find their room completely empty.
So who is this guy really? Let's build a psychological profile on our prime suspect, based purely on the evidence from the book.
First things first, the Peter Pan you think you know is a total lie. The one in the book, a raging narcissist. When Wendy is nice enough to sew his shadow back on, he doesn't even thank her. He literally puffs out his chest and yells, "Oh, the cleverness of me." He kicks her brother the moment he meets him and thinks it's absolutely hilarious when the kids fall out of the sky. So if we treat this like a real criminal case, the charges just start piling up. We've got extreme narcissism, a complete disregard for human life, and a tendency for sudden, brutal violence. Oh, and he also casually brags about killing tons of people just for fun. This isn't a hero, people. This is the profile of a textbook sociopath.
Now let's talk about where he takes these children. Neverland is no Disneyland. It's a seriously dangerous, isolated island. It's basically a compound where these kids are in constant, mortal danger.
First up, the mermaids. Yeah, they're not Ariel from The Little Mermaid. Not even close. The book says they're beautiful, sure, but they are also deadly predators who will literally try to drown children by pulling them underwater. Fun family vacation spot, right?
Then you've got the pirates. Captain Hook and his crew are locked in this constant, violent turf war with Peter's gang. Hook himself is so vicious, he murders one of his own crew members just for accidentally bumping into him. And this is the war zone that Peter just drops 3 innocent kids into.
And what about Tinkerbell, his cute little sidekick? She's not a mascot. She's a would-be murderer. She gets so consumed with jealousy over Wendy that she flies ahead of the group with one goal and one goal only: to have Wendy killed.
And here is the truly insane part. She gets to the Lost Boys and lies to their faces, telling them Peter ordered a hit on Wendy. And what do? They don't ask questions. They don't hesitate. They just immediately obey and shoot Wendy out of the sky with an arrow right in the chest. This is not a group of friends. It's a cult. And Peter is the cult leader.
So the final showdown between Peter and Hook, it's not the fun, swashbuckling adventure you might remember. It is something way, way weirder and a whole lot more brutal.
During one of their fights, Peter's got Hook cornered. He's about to win. But instead of fighting fair, Hook does something totally savage and out of left field. He bites him. Not with a sword, not with his hook. He just straight up bites him. It's completely animalistic.
And this is where you see just how broken Peter's mind really is. The bite doesn't actually hurt him. It just confuses him. He can't process the idea of someone not playing by the rules. But then, just moments later, he completely forgets it ever even happened. There's no emotional memory. It's just gone. So in their final duel, a totally desperate Captain Hook screams at Peter, demanding to know what he is. And this is Peter's answer. It is unhinged nonsense. He's so detached from reality, so completely alien, that his words terrify Hook more than any weapon ever could.
But wait, it actually gets worse. The real horror of this story isn't the fighting or the pirates. It's what happens after all the adventure is supposed to be over.
So after Peter defeats Hook, you'd think he'd do the right thing and take the kids home. Nope. Instead, he flies ahead of them to the Darling house with a truly chilling plan to bar the nursery window from the inside. His goal is to trick Wendy into thinking her own mother locked her out, so she'll have no choice but to go back to Neverland with him forever.
You see, his memory is a complete black hole. Years go by, and when Wendy brings up Captain Hook, the arch nemesis of his entire existence, Peter has no clue who she's talking about. He's completely forgotten him. All of his friends, all of his enemies, they're totally disposable.
And this is the final, most chilling piece of the puzzle. Peter Pan never ever stops. He comes back for Wendy years later, but by now she's an adult. He cries for like a second, and then he just takes for daughter Jane instead. And the book promises that one day he'll be back for Jane's daughter Margaret. The cycle of abduction just goes on and on.
He's not a hero saving lost boys. He's a collector. He's an eternal predator who preys on one generation of children after another, keeping them around for his own amusement before he completely forgets they ever existed. He doesn't represent childhood, he is the thing that steals it.
The book's very last line is probably the most haunting piece of evidence in this whole case. Being heartless isn't some childhood flaw you're supposed to grow out of. For Peter Pan, it's the #1 qualification for his next victim. It's what makes them the perfect prey.